Year. It's February 20th, 2025, one of the saddest days in the history of the Jewish people, the Jewish state, certainly, with the Bibas family being returned. I know we're waiting on official confirmation, um, but it's absolutely sickening on a number of levels. Um, First of all, heart goes out to Yarden Bibas and the entire extended Bibas family for everything that's transpired after October 7th. Captivity, just the idea that he didn't know that his family was still in captivity when he came back. It was almost I gather was expecting to see them perhaps is unbearable. And look, as we look at what just happened this morning, you have Hamas completely making a mockery of the deaths of the Bibas family, parading them around, bringing their children to watch the funeral. I mean, you cannot think of a more disgusting, sick display than what we saw today in Gaza. You bring your kid, you go to the zoo, you go to a farm, you go out to eat, you go for a walk, you go on a bike ride. No, in Gaza, they go with their babies to watch other babies be paraded around in coffins. That is the sickness of Gazan society. That is the sickness of the Palestinian national movement. It's absolutely repulsive. And now there's been a huge string of attempted there's no choice but for Israel to respond, because it's an absolutely grotesque, disgusting display that's been put on that's leaving Israel no choice but to respond. Again, people bringing their children to watch the Bibas babies paraded in coffins. Let's say it again. People in Gaza are bringing their children to watch a funeral. When my grandfather died, my grandfather of blessed memory, I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. I didn't go to the funeral because it wasn't age appropriate. There's certain things that you just don't do. But for Gaza, they are bringing their children to watch. Their children. What does that say about the society? This is the same society that had people living in civilian houses after they were kidnapped on October 7th. The story of Mia Shem, it was a family, an entire family. And you hear the story of Leary Albog playing with kids in the house. This is a societal sickness. And you have to look at the UNRWA text that's been involved in creating such hatred for decades now. Decades. It's all out in the open. All out in the open. And people that actually care about humanity and care about rights, civil rights, and care about having a civil society see this completely out in the open. And you can't forget this. UNRWA is basically an educational front group for Hamas. UNRWA employees, United Nations employees, participating in the murder and kidnapping of people on October 7th. UNRWA employees. There are people that received a paycheck from the United Nations that participated in murdering innocent civilians on October 7th. This is a society where there's Mein Kampf, Hitler's work of his magnum opus, blaming the Jews for everything. One of the most anti-Semitic documents in history, translated into Arabic in many, many places and homes throughout Gaza, throughout Judea and Samaria. You have soldiers from the IDF picking up Nazi propaganda in houses. This is a sick, sick society. And a lot of the Palestinian defenders will come and say, well, this Israeli did this, or this Israeli did that, or everyone has good and bad people. The absolute high majority of Israelis, of Jewish people, completely condemn any of the complete maniacs who have ever emerged from the Jewish people. Are you going to have some people that defend people like Baruch Goldstein? Yeah, you're going to have some people. But that is by no means even a strong minority. And it's a stain on the state of Israel. Whereas the Palestinian society, Gaza, Hamas, are proud of the people that kidnapped Ariel Bibas, Kfir Bibas, Shiri Bibas. They are proud of them. They might even have a street named after them or a school named after them. Spoke to one soldier who went into a house in Gaza, or went into a girls' school, and there was actually a picture of Osama bin Laden on the wall. You go into an elementary school in New York, you might find a picture of Derek Jeter, might find a picture of a president, various people, Martin Luther King Jr. No, in Gaza, you go in, there's Osama bin Laden. There's also pictures of the World Trade Center burning. This is the reality of what Israel is facing right now. Again, a society which brings its babies to watch other babies paraded around in coffins. It's not normal. It's deeply disturbing. And something's got to change. Because those young kids who are growing up in this environment are not going to turn out to be great lovers of humanity. This is the danger of this poison machine from UNRWA, from Gaza, that ruins lives and promotes a death cult. It's a complete and utter disgrace. And for those who claim that this is the only way to protect the human rights of Palestinians, I don't think it's a human right that that the young children have to be trained in the ways of jihad and martyrdom. I don't think that's a human right. You are participating in child abuse in not allowing these people to have a future in civilized society. And to participate and defend this kind of behavior is to force future generations in the Middle East to participate in conflict, to force people in Gaza to be raised in the way of martyrdom, and to encourage them to kill Jews and Israelis on the way to becoming a shaheed or martyring themselves. So that is actually the child abuse. And until these core issues are dealt with, there's not really a way to fix anything. Yahya Sinwar is not a hero. He is worse than an evil monster. Remember, he was titled the Butcher of Khan Yunis for the brutality that he used on other people in Gaza because he accused them of talking to Israel. He didn't get that name for killing Jews. He got that name for killing other Arabs. And to launch this attack on Israel on October 7th, knowing, in fact, hoping that kids and women get killed to try to make Israel look bad, he is a horrible, horrible, horrible leader of the Palestinian people, but unfortunately was widely popular. And unless you can actually get this fixed, there's not really much to talk about. You can't blame Israel for needing to be very, very strong when it comes to defending against the threat of terrorism, as we see tonight in Bat Yam. It's deeply, deeply sad. I mean, look at the story of Oded Lifshitz. He would drive Gazans to hospitals in Israel so they could get better medical care. And now he was betrayed by the very people he was trying to help. He worked his entire life to try to foster coexistence, dialogue, conversation, overcoming boundaries and borders. And what did they do? They turned around, they kidnapped him and his wife, and they murdered him. And Israel's not going to forget this. And to have such a sick display, one of the most grotesque displays you could ever imagine. The Nazis tried to hide their crimes. The Palestinian people promote them and bring their children to participate. It is a deeply upsetting time and a day that no one in the civilized world will ever forget.